Hey, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So glad to be here with all of you tonight. Welcome, welcome. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notifications bell. We are going to have yet another late night conversation. It's going to be tremendous. So yeah, let's just look forward to another late night chat. You all are great. I enjoy chatting with you as always.
American century. I say that the century on which we are entering can be and must be the century of the common man.
A radical redistribution of economic power.
I mean, we know that racism is a byproduct of capitalism. Everything would be all right if everything was put back in the hands of the people.
We need a government that will make sure Americans are taken care of and organize the economy to serve the people, not the profits of a wealthy few.
We now have the techniques and the resources to get rid of poverty.
We got to start getting out there with the people.
Get out of the movement and get to the masses.
We need a government of action.
Welcome, 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 everybody. Yeah, isn't it grand? It is Sunday night, and I'm here with you all once again. I was here in the afternoon, and now I'm here again. I'm going to be away for a week, so you're going to miss me for a week, but I'm getting in your time with me in now. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. So glad to be here with all of you. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notifications bell. All right, do you like it when I hit the B like that? Hit the notifications bell. I'm just being silly, but anyway, hit the notifications bell. The way we do things here, for those of you who may not be familiar with it, I give my opening remarks. My opening remarks are then followed by a roll call where I call you out as I see you, names and locations. We find out who is on the other side of the camera, and then from there, after that, then I answer your super chat questions or your Rumble rant questions or your Rockfin tip questions for the rest of the night. So if there's something that you would like me to talk about, well, you still got me because I'm going away for a week. I might have one more stream tomorrow, but we shall see, only if we're lucky. But it appears that this may be your last opportunity. You may have one more chance to speak with me, but I don't know if that's the case or not. But regardless, I'll be back in a week. Yeah, use your power wisely. With great power comes great responsibility, as they said in the Spider-Man movie. I will be gone for a little bit, having some travels. I'll tell you all about it when I get back. Not going into detail right now, but we'll see how it goes, and I'll tell you all about it once I'm back. So make the second half of the show memorable, make it exciting, get me talking about what is important to you. Here we go. Got our first question. Very good. You're on the list. So there we go. Timoshenko, your Sunday afternoon stream was really good. I was just listening to it. Well, I'm really glad to hear that, Tim. I'm really glad you liked it. It was very much off the top of my head. Sometimes I come on here with a very precise plan, and other times I just talk about what is on my mind. And that was one of the times where I really didn't have much of a plan. I just kind of talked off the top of my head, but it came out amazingly. Other times I come on here with an outline, and it doesn't go so well. So you never know. These streams are an experiment. Right? I always tell people that public speaking of any type, whether on broadcast, live streaming, or before an audience, is kind of like driving a car, right? You can know how to drive, but you're always getting to know the vehicle that you drive a little bit better, right? And the better you know the vehicle that you're driving, the better of a driver you can be. If you're sitting in a car for the first time, you've never driven a car like this before, it's going to be difficult. But if you're driving the car that you've been driving for 10, 20 years, you can drive it very, very well. You, the speaker are the car. And the more that you speak, and the more you learn ways around yourself, and the more you learn and practice speaking, the better speaker you can be. And I want to give Timoshenko and John McCarthy a special shout out. I am going to show later on the stream tonight a video that Timoshenko took from the very important rally that was held by the People's Democratic Uhuru movement. Timoshenko did a great video of it. John McCarthy was there. He represented the Center for Political Innovation at the rally to support the Uhuru movement. It was really, really, really great. And shout out to Timoshenko. He's out there in St. Louis. John is in Chicago, but he drove down and they represented us because there was a very, very important gathering to support the Uhuru movement. They're under indictment by the federal government, charged with being Russian agents. It's a very, very serious case, and we're going to show a video later in the stream. So I don't want to talk about that too much right now because I want to get to it when I get to it. But before I get into my opening remarks for tonight, I do want to remind everyone, just a quick reminder, that our Portland conference is approaching. The Center for Political Innovation's first national convention is approaching. We had our summit against hypocrisy in March. We had our New York City public speaking event that was about money and American injustice. We had that in July. We had our national training workshop. That was in June. And now in December, we will be having our national convention. And it's very exciting. A lot of special guests are coming into town. A lot of us are going to be there. There's going to be a weekend workshop with local people and people that are still in town the following weekend. There's going to be, an event, a special event with Jyoti Brar, to speak on the global anti-imperialist movement and the crisis in the communist movement. She's going to be there. That's the night before. And it is going to be an all-around amazing few days. Early December in Portland is going to be excellent. It's going to be tremendous. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be something you really don't want to miss. You really don't want to miss it. So we need you there. We need you there. So if you're coming, let us know that you're coming, right? Do an old-fashioned RSVP. A good old-fashioned RSVP. Register on our Eventbrite site. Let us know that you're coming. It's always good to know who is going to be there. That way we make sure we have enough packets for everybody and we know where to seat special guests. And, it's just helpful to let us know that you are coming. That way we can email you the location. We're not just putting the location out there completely publicly. It is, an event you have to register for. So go ahead and register. To let us know that you're going to be there. You're going to be there. You're going to see Scott Ritter. You're going to see Jyoti Brar. You're going to see Garland Nixon. You're going to see David Rovics, the great folk musician. You're going to see Nick Brana of the People's Party. You're going to see a lot of different great people that are coming in to give great talks. Rainer Shea, right? The great blogger Rainer Shea. He's going to be there. People from the California United Front. People from the Party of Communists USA. People from the Libertarian Party. It's going to be quite a shindig. It's going to be quite a shindig, as the Irish say. Is that Irish, shindig? Is that an Irish expression? I don't know. People used to say that in Ohio when I was a kid. That's what people used to say. But go ahead and register. Anyone who plans on being there, please go ahead and register because we need plans. And then in addition to that, we could also use some contributions. And if you are the person who is in a position to help us, you will make Elizabeth Young and myself a lot less nervous because, look, this is happening, but it's going to be tight, right? Now we know we intend to raise some money between now and then, but it's going to happen. Everything's paid for. This conference is definitely happening, but it's going to be a little tight. It's going to be a bit tight. So if you are able to donate in any way to help us make the conference go better, make the conference flow more easier, we will be eternally in your gratitude. I know for a fact, I know in my soul, not for a fact, but in my soul, I know that out there in the universe, there is somebody who's ready to write us a check for $5,000 to just make this conference go smoothly. They are there. They are ready to just drop $5,000 into the Stripe and make everything easy for us. And if you are that person, please go ahead. If you're not that person, anything you could give us would help. Look, it is a free event. Anyone can come. No one's going to be turned away because they don't have money. It does cost a lot, and we got speakers that are coming in, and we got it's going to be quite an event. Peter Coffin is going to be there to do his comedy. He's making a documentary film about the event to kind of show the behind the scenes, what it's like to make a conference. It's going to be really special. We have so much planned, right? It is a lot. We are juggling many different things. We're going to have a team of people in Portland. There's going to be some pop-up anti-imperialist rallies to support Uhuru, to say hands off Russia, hands off China. We're going to do some exciting stuff, some very, very, very exciting stuff in Portland. But the housing for out-of-town guests and the plane tickets for big speakers, and it all adds up, folks. It all adds up. So anything you can do to help us would make Elizabeth Young, our CPI president, and myself a lot less nervous. So if you're in that position, if you are the one who can help us, please do. If you're not, that's okay. Anything you can do and help, and just be there. The main way that you can support us is to be there. That is the best thing that you can do. You can't send us a contribution. That's fine. Not everyone is in that situation. But if you can send us yourself, if you can send us your person to sit there in the audience, to applaud, to ask good questions during the Q&A, sign up on the Eventbrite. Sign up on the Eventbrite. Lee Stranahan says his son Shane is in Portland. Well, Shane ought to come by. I assume your son is anti-war. I assume that he has something. Maybe we could put him on a panel, Lee. Be in touch. I would love to include your son Shane in the events, right? I have been on the radio with Shane. He's a great radio host, much like yourself. He takes after you. I think Shane has interviewed me before on Sputnik Radio. So if he's in Portland, I would love to meet your son. I would love to have him make a contribution in the form of a speech or just to show up at our conference. We'd love to have him there. Lee, and you're here again. You were here this afternoon, and you were great, and you're here now. And I guess you really like what we're doing here, Lee, and I am really glad that you're here. And we have had some amazing conversations on the radio over the years. We absolutely have. That I just wanted to make people aware of, that the conference is happening. If you're planning to come, please go ahead and register. I'm dropping the link on the other platforms as well. The Eventbrite, register, please, right? Register for the conference because we need people at the conference. We need to know who's going to be there. And, it's going to be exciting. We are providing transportation in the area to people that are maybe needing a lift, college students, elderly folks. We're providing transportation. So it's going to be worth it. This conference will be an experience. It will be an experience. It will not be like conferences you have been to in the past. We're taking it up a notch this time. We're doing some different things, right? It'll be similar to some of the conferences you've been to before, but we're going to take it up a notch because we know what we're doing and because people come to CPI conferences and people follow us because they like what we do. So we don't need to pretend to be like other people. We don't need to try to imitate somebody else. We can do it our own way. So there you go. Just wanted to get that out there. So as I said before, doing my opening remarks, then doing the roll call, then answering people's questions, getting started with the opening remarks now. A couple things are on my mind tonight, I must say. A couple things are on my mind. And one of them is this. The internet is not real. And I've told you this so many times before, but I'll tell it to you again. The internet is not real. When you get on YouTube, the view counts underneath videos are not real. When you get on Twitter, the number of retweets and followers that people have are not real. The internet is fake. The accounts that retweet on Twitter are fake. The views that you see on YouTube are fake. It's fake. It's more fake than professional wrestling. It is fake. Okay? And if people could just come to realize how fake the internet is, and how the internet is not a substitute for building an in real life organization to actually get things done, I have a feeling we would be in a much healthier spot as anti-imperialists. Today, I looked over one of my tweets. I was looking over who liked my tweets, who liked them. And I noticed that one of the people who liked one of my tweets didn't follow me. I thought, that's odd. Why did she like my tweet if she didn't follow me? And then I looked at her Twitter page, and it was all just ads to buy software. She was a pretty nice looking woman, but I could tell that she wasn't real. Now, I don't know why this bot liked my tweet. I don't know what I did to please the bot. If it was a certain word I used, it's programmed to support. Maybe there's somebody somewhere who has a troll farm who's trying to give me a little bit of love. But it's not real. The internet is not real. And much of the activity on the internet that looks real to us is fake. And I become more blatantly aware of that every day. And it's not a big conspiracy either. Right? There's not one fake internet, right? There's not one like magical controller who sits up there and says, all right, I will rig the internet to help this person, and I will rig the internet to silence this person. Now that went on at Twitter. The Twitter Files show, the FBI was doing that in consultation with the Twitter staff, but they weren't the only ones. They were not the only ones. There are all kinds of algorithmic manipulators out there. People that dispatch bots and trolls to go one way, and people who dispatch fake accounts. And there's about 1 million different internet social media manipulators out there with different agendas who are all pushing different things. And all have different agendas. And they are all out there. And they all exist. And I got some love from one of them today, right? Some beautiful woman who doesn't follow me liked one of my tweets. I thought, that's odd. And then I looked and realized that this woman was not a real account. And I thought, wow. And that I keep having aha moments about how fake the internet really is. The internet is fake. But it's not faked by one guy. There's no conspiracy to fake the internet. There are many, many different forces all trying to figure out how to fake the internet, how to fake likes, how to fake views, how to fake retweets, how to fake shares. It's all fake. Funny story. Years ago, I was in Washington, D.C. I was interviewing people on the street for RT. I was interviewing people for RT on the street. There were two heavy-set guys standing around near the White House in Washington, D.C. They asked me, what news agency are you with? I said, RT. And the guy said, is that fake news? And I thought for a minute, fake news? What is fake news? I thought, is that fake New Jersey? Fake Wisconsin? But I talked to the guy a little bit more. He said the news is fake. It's fake news. fake. He meant fake news. But he had so much of an accent that he said, fake, fake, it's fake news. It was an interesting experience. Was that fake? That's fake. He wasn't British. He was Southern. He was a Southern guy. Fake. That's fake. I don't like that news. It's fake. It does sound a little bit British. I don't know, but the way he pronounced news was fake. So there you go. He asked me if I was fake news, and I wondered what fake news was, right? I was thinking, oh, don't you remember sweet Betsy from Fike, who crossed the wide prairies with her lover Ike? Right? That's an old American folk song that people probably don't even know these days, right? Does anyone even know that song? Is there anyone in the chat who recognizes that song? I remember that song because my parents used to take me to folk music concerts when I was a kid. I would sit there, right? And there'd be a man on a guitar, and he would sing, Michael, row your boat ashore, hallelujah. And the audience would clap along, right? And one of those songs was, Don't You Remember Sweet Betsy from Pike? She crossed the wide mountains with her lover, Ike. You know what? I will see if I can find a version of this. This is an old American song, Sweet Betsy from Pike. And I will put it on because Pike rhymes with Fike and Ike. So there we go. There we go. I will see if I can find a version of the song that I can play on here and not get hit with a copyright violation, right? I am going to look for a version of somebody sitting in front of in their living room singing it, right? That's what I'm looking for. If I find a version that's from an album, I probably won't get away with playing it. All right, here's somebody. Somebody's singing it. I'll keep going though. I don't think that one. I'm going to find a version of Sweet Betsy from Pike. This is a pioneer song, one of those old, like, American folk songs. Oh, here. I always put Raymond Crook on. I never thought Raymond Crook, the Australian folk singer, I did not guess that he would have this song. I thought he did, like, old English ballads and socialist songs, but I guess Raymond Crook performing Sweet Betsy from Pike. So we'll listen to Raymond Crook. I always can play Raymond Crook's videos on here. David Ike. Oh, don't you remember sweet David from Ike? But there we go. Yeah, we'll listen to Raymond Crook's version of Sweet Betsy from Pike. We'll do that. But yeah, so there's that. That's the one thing I wanted to say. Is the internet's fake. And it is so unbelievably fake. It is so amazingly fake. So utterly amazingly fake. You have no idea. It is just so gosh darn fake. It is just fake. And I have given up trying to win the internet because it doesn't really mean much in real life. I'm trying to build a real organization called the Center for Political Innovation. I'm trying to build our CPI community, which is an anti-imperialist community. It's increasingly becoming a spiritual community of people that need something to believe in. They need a community to be part of, and I'm building it. And I'm not concerned at this point with the numbers that I get on the fake internet because they're just not real, right? And I realize that. And even when things are going well for me, I've noticed there's times when things have gone really, really well, but then I realize, oh, the well that I'm getting, it ain't real. And it doesn't matter. It does not matter. Right? It is your social credit rating, right? And I've heard horror stories. New York City, we have Broadway, and they hire actors and actresses based on how many Twitter followers they have. And that's a crime because a lot of Twitter followers ain't real. So how fair is that? There's two people competing, and one of them is an amazing actor. Another one's a shitty actor, but he's got like 10,000 followers on Twitter, so they hire him. That's ridiculous, right? That's absolutely ridiculous, but that's happening on Broadway. It is a social credit rating, right? You get more followers if you're a good, obedient person who has the right kind of opinions. You get less followers if you're problematic in some ways. I mean, it is quite sad. And then we condemn China for allegedly having social credit scores, right? your social credit score is on Twitter. And then on top of that, you know how they used to put people in the stocks? You know, they'd put people in the stocks and throw fruit at them. Now we have that too, right? If you're bad, your name is trending and everyone's condemning you. You did something bad, blah, 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 blah. You know, it's toxic. It is absolutely toxic. We need to get our community off social media. And I've told you all that is my goal. My long-term goal is to have the Center for Political Innovation not be on their platforms any longer. I want us to be able to effectively recruit people in real life, that we have live streams like this, but no one sees them but us. And we have ways of recruiting people that don't involve the internet, where we recruit real life people who meet us in real life and we draw them into the group that way. And we don't have to just be a social media thing, because social media is a nightmare. So that's the first thing I wanted to say. Second thing I wanted to say. All right. And keep in mind, I'm not saying this to any individual person. There are about 7 people this applies to in the last month, and there's been many more over the years. If you want to be my friend, if you want my attention, be nice to me, right? I don't get it. There are these people that really want to interact with me. They really, really want my attention. And so they start personally attacking me on social media. I don't owe that to you. I do not owe it to you to interact with you if you're going to be a jerk. I don't, right? If you want my attention, be nice. But I realize the reason they're harassing me, because they want my attention, is they want me to be the supervillain. They want me to be the arch nemesis in their social media fandom, in their show. I don't want to be the arch nemesis in your show. I want to be the superhero of my show. But I don't want to be the arch nemesis in your show, right? So if you're reaching out to me and calling me all a bunch of nasty words, I'm just going to block you. And that's going to be that, right? For a while, I was doing the drama videos, trying to get attention, maybe increase the traffic here. But no, I just got to be above it. I just got to be above it all. No more drama videos, or very few. I mean, very rarely I might do one here and there. But for the most part, no more drama videos. No more drama videos. And if you want my attention, be nice to me. Be nice to me. Be friendly. Ask me a serious question. But this is like kindergarten stuff, right? If the first grader, he has a crush on the girl, he says, "You have cooties," right? He harasses the girl because he has a crush on her, right? I mean, it's like this juvenile behavior where it's like people clearly want my attention. Keffels clearly wanted my attention. I have never seen someone more desperate for my attention than Keffels. And Keffels was being a jerk. And I said to Keffels, I don't have to debate you. I don't have to debate you. And I didn't, right? I didn't have to debate Keffels. Didn't have to. And I didn't end up doing it. And it's like, Keffels, you want me to go out of my way to spend my time engaging with you, to talk about a topic I don't really care about, the trans thing. I just don't really care about the trans thing. I don't. And that's all you want to talk about. And here's the other thing about Keffels and the way Keffels approached me. If people want to be trans, I don't care. I am friendly with people that have serious concerns about puberty blockers and for minors and bathrooms and stuff like that. But I honestly don't know enough about it, and I don't want to know. I don't have kids. I am not a woman, and I just don't want to know. Now, I don't cut off people who do want to know and take that issue seriously, but I really just don't want to know. Right? Right? I really don't want to know. And so why do you want to debate me about an issue I don't feel passionate about? Because it's like they want you to disagree with them. They want you to disagree with them. It's like, what kind of healthy political atmosphere is that? They want you to disagree with them. Generally, the way you get things done in politics is by trying to bring people in to agree with you. But that's not how the internet works, right? The way you get attention is you point at someone and go, "Nah, yeah, You're bad. That's the way people get attention in politics or on the internet. I mean, it would be like a politician goes around, are you going to vote for me? Yes, I am. No, you're not. You're a fraud. You're really going to vote for the other guy. Liar. That's kind of what we're dealing with here. That's what internet, Twitch streamer, social media politics is like. They want to disagree. You can say you agree with somebody. No, you don't really. They want to have some kind of dramatic argument with you. I'm sitting here trying to get people to agree with me, but that doesn't get views, that doesn't get attention, most of which is fake anyway. I can't. I just can't. I mean, it's annoying, right? And yeah. There you go. There you go. So on that note, folks, I am going to open it up. I do this every so often. I'm about to be gone for a while. So, if you want to hop on and give me a piece of your mind, tell me what you want to talk about, join the stream. Join the stream, right? If you got a camera on your phone, you got a webcam, you got a, I have to be able to see your face. That's one of the rules. You have to be 18, no minors, right? But you have to, if anyone wants to join the stream, you can join the stream. I am opening it up. I'll drop it in the Rockfin. I will drop it in the Rumble. If you want to come on here and give me a piece of your mind, tell me how you really feel, join the stream, right? Why not, right? I'm opening it up. I'm opening it up. The phone lines are open, to use radio terminology. In this case, it's not the phone lines, it's the StreamYard. The StreamYard is open. If you want to come on here and talk about something and tell the audience here something, tell me something, please go ahead. I have to be able to see your face. That's the first rule. You have to be 18 years old so that no one accuses me of being a groomer. That's about it. Obviously, you got to keep everything within the rules of YouTube, and I will just cut it off, if it gets weird. But for the most part, just come on and, give me a piece of your mind. That would be great. So while we're waiting for anyone who wants to come on, I did tell you all I was going to play Don't You Remember Sweet Betsy from Pike. So now I'll do just that. I am going to play, and I guess we have the version of Sweet Betsy from Pike from Raymond Crook. So we're going to play Raymond Crook's version of Sweet Betsy from Pike. Or are we? Yeah, there we go. Sweet Betsy from Pike, classic American folk song.
Oh, don't you remember sweet Betsy from Pike, who crossed the wide prairie with her lover Ike, with 2 yoke of oxen, a big yellow dog, a tall Shanghai rooster, and 1 spotted hog. Sing and dang, foldy-dido, sing and dang, foldy-day. One evening quite early they camped on the Platte. 'Twas near by the road on a green shady flat, where Betsy sore-footed lay down to repose. With wonder Ike gazed on that Pike County rose. Sing and dang, foldy-dido, sing and dang, foldy-day. The Shanghai ran off and their cattle all died. That morning the last piece of bacon was fried. Poor Ike was discouraged and Betsy got mad. The dog drooped his tail and looked wondrously sad. Sing and dang, foldy-dido, sing and dang, foldy-day. They stopped at Salt Lake to inquire of the way, where Brigham declared that sweet Betsy should stay. But Betsy got frightened and ran like a deer, while Brigham stood pawing the ground like a steer. Sing and dang, foldy-dido, sing and dang, foldy-day. They soon reached the desert where Betsy gave out, And down in the sand she lay rolling about, while I, half distracted, looked on with surprise, saying, Betsy, get up, you'll get sand in your eyes. Singing dang foldy dido, singing dang foldy day. Sweet Betsy got up in a great deal of pain, declared she'd go back to Pike County again. But I gave a sigh and they fondly embraced, and they travelled along with his arm round her waist. Singing dang foldy dido, singing dang foldy day. The Injuns came down in a wild yelling horde, and Betsy was scared they would scalp her adored. Behind the front wagon wheel Betsy did crawl, and there fought the Injuns with musket and ball. Singing dang foldy dido, singing dang foldy day. The terrible desert was burning and bare, and Isaac he shrank from the death lurking there. Dear old Pike County, I'll come back to you, says Betsy, you'll go by yourself if you do. Singing dang foldy dido, singing dang foldy day. 'Twas out on the prairie one bright starry night, they broke out the whiskey and Betsy got tight. She sang and she howled and she danced o'er the plain, and she showed her bare ass to the whole wagon train. Singing dang foldy dido, singing dang foldy day. They swam the wild rivers and climbed the tall peaks, and camped on the prairies for weeks upon weeks. Starvation and cholera, hard work and slaughter, they reached California spite of hell and high water. Singing dang foldy dido, singing dang foldy day. Long Ike and sweet Betsy attended a dance. Ike wore a pair of his Pike County pants. Sweet Betsy was dressed up in ribbons and rings. Says Ike, you're an angel, but where are your wings? Singing dang foldy dido, singing dang foldy day. A miner said, Betsy, will you dance with me? I will, you old hoss, if you don't make too free. But don't dance me hard, do you want to know why? Doggone ye, I'm chock full of strong alkali. Singing dang foldy dido, singing dang foldy day. Long Ike and sweet Betsy got married, of course, but Ike, being jealous, obtained a divorce, while Betsy, well satisfied, said with a shout, goodbye, you big lummox, I'm glad you backed out. Singing dang foldy dido, singing dang foldy day. Dang foldy dido, singing dang foldy day.
Wow, I have never heard so many verses to that song. I'll be honest. I have heard that song before. I have never heard that many verses. That dude, he found verses to that song that I could only dream of. But you know, that song did make me think of this guy. Because that song is about the pioneer experience, which is now something we don't talk about as much in the United States. But I would argue that, yes, there's a lot of the pioneer experience that is negative, but I don't think we can completely throw it out because of this guy. All right. Do folks know who this guy was? This was Horace Greeley. And Horace Greeley, right? This guy was a leading abolitionist in the state of New York. A very, very, man, you're on the list. A leading abolitionist in the state of New York. He was very, very opposed to slavery. And keep the super chats rolling in. And anyone who wants to join the stream, feel free to jump on. It's open. He was a leading abolitionist in the state of New York. He was the editor of the New York Tribune, Horace Greeley. And Horace Greeley was an advocate of women's rights. He was a socialist. He wasn't a Marxist, right? He was a Christian socialist, a utopian Christian socialist. He was a very strong opponent of slavery. And he was elected to office. I think he became a member of Congress at one point. He was a very pivotal figure in the history of this country. A very prominent, very prominent progressive figure. He ran for president. This guy was part of the Abraham Lincoln coalition. And he was frustrated with Abraham Lincoln. He wanted Lincoln to promise to end slavery before the end of the war. This guy was a leading social reformer. And he had a following in New York City. He was a well-respected writer and speaker. He was the editor of the New York Tribune. And who did Horace Greeley hire to be the editor or to be the London correspondent for his newspaper? The New York Tribune, the Republican Party-aligned newspaper of New York City. Who did he hire to be its London correspondent? Karl Marx. Karl Marx only ever had 2 jobs in his life. The first was he worked at a railroad company, and they fired him because his handwriting was too sloppy. And then after that, Karl Marx was hired by Horace Greeley to write for the New York Tribune. And in fact, all of Karl Marx's journalism for the New York Tribune, you can find in this book, Dispatches for the New York Tribune, Selected Journalism of Karl Marx, right? And he wrote glowing articles about Abraham Lincoln, glowing articles about the struggle to defeat slavery. And Horace Greeley was a very, very important figure in the history of America. He was a Christian. He was an abolitionist. He was a socialist. He was an advocate for women's right to vote long before that was a trendy cause to fight for. There were times he stuck up for Native Americans, and he said that, Native Americans needed to be treated better. He also was an advocate of temperance. He thought alcohol was a bad thing for civilization. This guy was a John Brown supporter. He was a Harriet Tubman supporter. He was a Frederick Douglass supporter. He was a supporter of the labor unions and the labor movement. He was Karl Marx's boss, Karl Marx's employer. This guy was a pretty important dude. Very, very important person. And yes, he's been erased from American history. This guy was what they used to call a radical Republican. He was a radical Republican. He was in the far left of American politics back in the 1840s, 50s, and 60s. He was a radical Republican in New York City. But what was his slogan? What was the slogan of Horace Greeley? What was the slogan that he rallied people around? What was it? What did Horace Greeley urge people across the country to do? What was the slogan that was associated with Horace Greeley? Well, I'll tell it to you. I'll put it on the screen, and it will surprise you because it is something that now we would never think of as being a very progressive slogan. But as a socialist, as a feminist, as an abolitionist, as the Karl Marx's employer, this was the slogan that he said in every speech. He made it the slogan of his life. Go west, young man. Go west, young man. And that is the slogan that is affiliated. It is still to this day associated with Horace Greeley. In fact, that saying, people remember that was a pivotal slogan in American history. It was painted on the walls. It was, they had posters in the newspaper of it. Go west, young man. And what did he mean? Well, Caleb, what that means is that Horace Greeley was just such a racist that he wanted all the Native Americans to be killed, and he was like a white supremacist, and so he wanted to kill all the Indians, and so he said, "Go west, young man, and kill the Indians." That's what he was saying. I get an A+ in gender studies. Oh my God. No, 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 no. Horace Greeley was actually one of the white people who was the most sympathetic to Native Americans. I'm not saying he never said anything racist in his life. Not saying he was an angel, but he was an abolitionist, a strong abolitionist. He was a strong advocate of women's right to vote. He was he defended Native Americans in his articles. Now, Horace Greeley said, "Go west, young man." And keep in mind, this guy lived in New York City. So that was not to his interest. Go west, young man meant go away from New York City. Meant don't be in the place where you can buy his newspaper. But he was saying, build the country. That's what he was saying. Build the country. Expand westward. That's what he was saying. Go west, young man. Expand westward. Go west, young man. Build the country. And for him, socialism, abolition of slavery, the rights of women was associated with historical progress. Horace Greeley was a city builder. He was a city builder. And he was a socialist, and he was a Christian, and he was an abolitionist, and he was in favor of women's rights. I guess that made him a feminist. And he was a non-drinker. He was an advocate of temperance. And he was Karl Marx's employer, one of only 2 employers Karl Marx ever had in his life. This guy was about as far left as you can get. But left meant progress. Left meant building. Left meant marching into the future. That's what left meant in Horace Greeley's time. It meant advancing. And that meant building new cities in the plains. That meant expanding new territories. It meant getting rid of the primitive, barbaric practice of slavery that was holding back the industrialization of the country, that was keeping the country in primitive agrarian conditions. It meant supporting industry and technology. It meant supporting labor unions and the rights of workers on the job. Go west, young man was a revolutionary left-wing slogan. Now, unfortunately, westward expansion did mean killing Native Americans. Westward expansion, did mean some rugged individualism. Not everything associated with go west, young man is good. And I don't think any of us are pretending that it is. There are definitely some bad things associated with go west, young man. But when I read Anna Louise Strong, right? Do you folks know who Anna Louise Strong is? Right? My favorite, by far, American socialist writer, Anna Louise Strong. Right? The Seattle City Council woman who opposed World War I, who led the Great General Strike, who met Stalin and was a personal friend of Mao. An amazing, pivotal figure in the history of American socialism. Anna Louise Strong, a great, amazing writer. I Change Worlds, the Stalin era, the Soviets expected it, the Soviets conquer wheat. Anna Louise Strong, this amazing woman, this dynamic figure in the history of American socialism, this beautiful journalist, right? She was from that same strand of thinking as Horace Greeley, right? She was from the Midwest. Her father had been a minister, and she had gone west. Her father had gone west, young man. and had raised her that she should always be right in her soul. That's what Anna Louise Strong was taught from the time she was a small child, to be right in her soul. That you must do what you know to be right. Right? Never go against your principles, to have a direct relationship with God, to know where injustice is and to always oppose it. And I am so thankful that I discovered Anna Louise Strong's writings. When I was a teenager, I got interested in communism. I got interested in socialism. And I was coming at it from a very negative place. It was based on anger at my parents, anger at society, anger at the government and the Iraq War and the post 9/11 stuff. But I got interested in Maoist communism. And one way or another, I ended up studying the writings of Anna Louise Strong. And I read the Stalin era when I was 15. And I was blown away by what I read in her book, The Stalin Era, which the whole PDF is online, right? The Stalin Era by Anna Louise Strong. You don't have to pay for it. You can read the whole PDF. You get an optimistic, constructive socialist message that is very, very American, right? It's very, very much about the American spirit, right? Here's the whole PDF of the book right here. The Stalin Era by Anna Louise Strong. And Anna Louise Strong, she loved Stalin. She loved Mao. She died in China. She was a personal friend of Zhou Enlai. She interviewed Mao. A quote from her interview with Mao is in the little red book. She was definitely, and you can go read her book, The Stalin Era, right now. It's an amazing book about the construction of the Soviet Union, about the 5-year plans, about defeating the Nazis. It's absolutely beautiful. Anna Louise Strong is one of the most amazing figures in U.S. history, Soviet history, Chinese history. This woman was a communist, and I think she was an atheist. She was probably an atheist. But yet, if you read her autobiography, which I've got somewhere. Yeah, I've got, where do I have it? I have her autobiography right here, I Change Worlds. She talks about how she was motivated. She was motivated by a spiritual desire. She wanted to be right in her soul. She wanted to be right with God. She wanted to do what was right. She was motivated. She started being a socialist because she heard about child labor and how children were being worked to death in factories. And so she knew it was wrong. So she raised money to do a photo exhibit all over the country showing the horrors of child labor. And because she was rallying people in opposition to child labor, she eventually got elected to the city school board in the city of Seattle. And when World War I broke out, she refused to have the kids get military training and military indoctrination. And she said it's a boss's war. It's a capitalist war. So they kicked her off the city council. And she led, and she was heavily involved in the Great Seattle General Strike of 1919. And then after World War I, the Russian Revolution happened, and she went with Quaker missionaries to the Soviet Union. And she wrote a book that was widely studied, the first time in history, about what the Bolsheviks were doing. This is an amazing woman, Anna Louise Strong, and I think she was an atheist, but her father was a pastor. Her father is the one who got her to be an advocate of social justice, and all through this book, I Change Worlds, she's constantly saying that I must be right in my soul. She's constantly describing a spiritual drive that she has to do what is right. And she's an optimist. She's not hateful. She's not negative. She doesn't want to punish anybody. She doesn't want to hurt anybody. She's not driven by envy. It's driven by a desire to build a better future. This is the socialism that I've come to accept. This is the socialism that I've come to believe in. This is the socialism that we need right now. I talk about the English Civil War and the Diggers and the Roundheads, and I talk about Horace Greeley, and I talk about Anna Louise Strong, and a lot of that stuff, they were coming to this new land of the United States of America because they wanted to march into the future. They wanted to build God's kingdom on earth. They wanted to build a society where injustice and man's inhumanity to man was abolished. They wanted new technology. They wanted new science. They wanted to eradicate poverty, eradicate inequality, advance the human species to the highest level. They weren't going to be held back by Europe, by the old societies. They were going to march into the future. And many of them were motivated by religious faith and by the Bible, or by the inner light that William Penn and George Fox spoke of, the inner spiritual power. This is us. And when socialism comes to America, it's going to be this kind of socialism. Maybe not nominally, but it's going to be this kind of socialism. Because everything good in our society gets back to this. Everything good in our society gets back to this. The labor movement gets back to this. The struggle for women's rights gets back to this. The struggle to abolish slavery gets back to this. Marxism first came to America because of Horace Greeley, because he hired Karl Marx to write for him. The Lincoln Coalition to defeat slavery is because of this. Right? The Communist Party was started by these people. John Reed, Louise Bryant, these people that were motivated by something beautiful. And even the later Maoists, William Hinton, Edgar Snow, it was these people. New England radicals who wanted to build God's kingdom on earth, who were wrangling within their souls about what was right and what was wrong. This is the kind of socialism we need. Not the socialism that says tear it down and burn it down, but this type of socialism. And in fact, I will never hear this song the same way again. There's a Christmas carol you've probably all heard, We Three Kings. All right, and if you haven't heard it, it's one of the most common Christmas carols in the United States, We Three Kings. But I want to tell you where We Three Kings was written. We Three Kings. Classic American Christmas carol. Where was it written? It was written in 1857. And where was it first performed? At a Christmas pageant in New York City. And what does the chorus of We Three Kings say? The chorus of We Three Kings is westward leading, still proceeding, guide us to the perfect light. Now, obviously, it's a reference to the three kings who visited Jesus, the manger scene, etc., the crash. But that chorus, now whatever, but no. That would, nowadays, right? 100 years from now, somebody might, write a song that says, oh, let's make America great again, and people won't think anything of it. But if you made a song now and the chorus had the words, make America great again, everyone would see it as a pro-Trump song, even if that had nothing to do with the song, because everyone would know that phrase, right? Phrases take on specific meanings in specific contexts, right? Well, back in 1857 in New York City, if you had a song and the chorus went, westward leading, still proceeding, guide us to the perfect light, everybody knew what that was referring to. Everybody knew westward leading, still proceeding, guide us to the perfect light referred to this guy. That was a blatantly political abolitionist statement. 1857, some guy in Pennsylvania decided he was going to write a new Christmas carol for the Christmas pageant, the big Christmas pageant in New York City. And he made the chorus to his Christmas carol go, westward leading, still proceeding, guide us to the perfect light. And everybody back then knew exactly what that was. Nobody missed what that was. Everybody knew that meant, everyone in New York City in 1857 knew that meant, go west, young man. That meant abolish slavery. That meant give women the right to vote. That meant build God's kingdom on earth. That meant tear down injustice. That meant mobilize and find the spiritual power within yourself, the holiness, the rightness within your own soul. It meant connect with God, guide us to the perfect light. That's what it meant. It was an allusion to Horace Greeley. And I think of all the times in my life, around Christmas time, you walk into a store, you hear We Three Kings, you turn on your TV, you hear We Three Kings. Every time you hear that, you're hearing a revolutionary slogan. You're hearing a slogan from a guy who hired Karl Marx to be his London correspondent. You're hearing a slogan by a guy who mobilized to defeat slavery. You're hearing a socialist slogan. Every time you hear We Three Kings, you are hearing a rallying cry for socialism. You are hearing the rallying cry of abolitionism. You are hearing a revolutionary song. Every time you hear We Three Kings, you are hearing Horace Greeley. You're hearing Anna Louise Strong. You're hearing Frederick Douglass. You're hearing Harriet Tubman. You are hearing John Reed. Every time you listen to We Three Kings, you might think it's just this hokey, stupid Christmas song. You're hearing Horace Greeley. And for those who are maybe in another country, don't know the Christmas song, I'm going to put it on. I'm going to put on We Three Kings. Because I want you to know that American culture has been stamped by our revolutionary heritage. And that is why I can't disavow the pioneer stuff. Even though I disavow, obviously, the killing of Native Americans, I disavow any form of racism. The pioneer stuff had multiple sides to it. And they weren't just pioneers in that they were going westward. They were pioneers in that they were trying to build new. They were trying to tear down injustice and defeat what was old. They were pioneers in the sense that they were doing what had never been done before. They were engaging in innovation, political innovation. That's what they were doing. They were pioneering. What is a synonym for a pioneer? It's an innovator. A pioneer is an innovator. And our country was started by innovators. Innovators, rabble-rousers, radicals, abolitionists, socialists, suffragists, religious dissenters, the kind of people who didn't bow before kings, they cut kings' heads off. That's who started this country. And if you want to just dismiss it all as racism, you want to just dismiss it all as Jim Crow, you just want to stand there and say, oh, I denounce it all, I'm so good, you're missing the point. Because there's a lot of evil in this country. You can feel the evil all around you sometimes, but there's still righteousness in this land. This land still produced Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. This land still produced Anna Louise Strong. This land still produced Frederick Douglass and Abraham Lincoln and John Brown. And if we're going to win this thing, we have to find that righteousness. And we can't just write it all off. We can't just declare independence. And we can't just drown and ooze in pessimism. If we're going to win this thing, we must find the righteousness in this land and make it our own and allow it to flourish in these times. That's the only way we can win. And if you don't want to win, why are you doing this? If you don't want to win, why are you calling yourself a socialist? If you don't ever want to see socialism, why are you calling yourself a socialist? If you don't ever want to tear down imperialism, why are you calling yourself an anti-imperialist? I'm telling you, westward leading, still proceeding, guide us to the perfect light. That's the good side of America. That's the beauty in this land. And that is what we need. That is what we need. And if that is the hill I want to die on, I've been canceled for it a million times, and I'm going to keep saying it. God is in the people. God is in this land. There is hope for America. But that hope is not coming from outside. That hope is here. There are so many things in our culture, in our way of life, in our tradition, that are an anecdote to so much of the evil that is everywhere right now. And the only hope we have as socialists is tapping into it. That's the only hope we've got. So I'm going to put on We Three Kings. And then I'm going to start answering Super Chat questions. So please keep the Super Chats rolling in. Ask me some good questions because I've only got 2 so far. Maybe there's some rumble rants, but got to give me something to talk about. So let's go. You heard it. What did they repeat over and over and over again? Westward leading, still proceeding, guide us to the perfect light. Written in New York City in 1857. Everybody knew what that meant. Everybody knew exactly what that meant. And everyone also knew who it was referring to. Everybody knew that that was a reference to this guy. And that guy, Horace Greeley, represents the good in American history. Westward leading, still proceeding. Guide us to the perfect light. Go west, young man. Go west. So on that note, folks, names and locations. I will call you all out as I see you. Names and locations. Who is with us tonight? Names and locations. Who's with us? Who is with us tonight? Names and locations. And please keep the super chats rolling in. Give me something to talk about here in the second half. Give me something to talk about, right? We got Mark Utica, right? Chris in Salt Lake City requesting the upbeat Irish folk populist song you played a few weeks ago. I don't know which song that is. You're talking about Whiskey in the Jar, Omar in Toronto, Finn in Duluth, Rice from Adelaide, Australia, Molly McGuire in Orange County. Shout out to you. JT24 in Mississippi, St. David's in Bermuda, Nick Lynch in Daphne, Alabama, Rich from Vietnam. Hey, Rich, welcome. Nico in San Diego, Bob Troy in New York, Patrick in Maine. Names and locations, folks. Jamie in St. Paul, Patch in Arizona, Kieran in London. Welcome, Kyron in London. Patch in Arizona. We have Kieran from another place. Alex from Brazil. Welcome, Alex. Patrick in Maine. Northern Michigan, a better America. Alex from Brazil. Welcome. John McCarthy is on his way home after a great day of solidarity with the Uhuru movement. I will play that next. That's next. I will play the Uhuru movement. That is what I will play next. That's thank you for the reminder, John. Actually, you reminded me. Thank you. I will put on that statement next. Nice catch, Caleb. Jenny Lynn in Cincinnati. Welcome, Jenny. Welcome. All right. So and then on the Rumble, I'm new to your channel. Honest question, what got you into communism? I've talked about these things before, but send me a Rumble rant if you want me to address that as a question in the Q&A. I can certainly do that. Rockfin. Okay, no one's on the Rockfin, but yeah, we got Chris in Salt Lake City. We got Gabby in Chicago. Great folks. Great folks. Wow, this is really, really great. Okay, now, and like I said, I got 2 super chats here to answer. Please keep the super chats rolling in. Give me something to talk about in the second half of our show. Please send more because the more the merrier. If not, this is going to be a short stream. But I did, an important statement. I don't know if you all are aware, but the Uhuru movement, and I've talked about this, and John McCarthy and Timoshenko were in St. Louis today to support the Uhuru movement. The Uhuru movement are indicted by the federal government. They're calling them Russian agents. They're threatening to put them in prison. And it's a really, really important case, an extremely important case. I think I have, maybe I'll show quickly just a video to update everyone on the case if I have it, right? Maybe I don't have it. But if not, I want to show, I really need to show do we have the video of Uhuru? Maybe I'll show that afterwards. Yeah. All right. So we're going to show, the Uhuru case. Let me just emphasize. I've talked about it over and over and over on these streams. It is so important. The federal government has indicted a group of black revolutionaries and accused them of being Russian agents. Okay. And this is a small black communist group, that They have their unique ideology they call African internationalism. They are advocates of separate organizations for Black people. But the federal government has claimed that because they went to some conferences in Russia, because they've taken a good position and defend Russia in the Ukraine war, they've accused them of being foreign agents. And this is a really, really, really dangerous situation. Because if they can convict the Uhuru movement of being Russian agents for their activism, they can essentially outlaw anti-imperialist activism. They are trying to say that by engaging in the community work that they do, they are foreign agents. I'm going to quickly put this video on. This is a clip from Money in American Injustice. Great clip made by Peter Coffin to show you who the Uhuru movement are. And then I'm going to show you the speech that Jesse Neville gave. I'm going to tell you about what's going on with the PSL, etc. So first, I'm going to put on why the Uhuru case is so important. So this is a video just kind of explaining the details of the case. Was done. U.S. media kind of forgot about those communities. Well, Uhuru, they went out there because they saw Black and brown people like themselves that were out there protesting and rioting, and they stayed there. And they've been there since 2014, providing services in the community, giving these young people in the community something constructive to do, not just go out and break shit to raise awareness about the conditions they're in, but ways to actually feed people and serve the community. And they've been there in St. Louis since 2014 doing constructive work. They have really escalated these programs. They have a farmer's market. They provide classes and services to pregnant mothers, and in particular in St. Louis, Missouri, and in St. Petersburg, Florida. They're trying to undo the damage that the U.S. Department of Justice and the state police and the local police and all the forces have been doing in communities like Ferguson, Missouri. And at the same time that they've done this community work, the African People's Socialist Party has also taken a firm anti-imperialist stance. They support China. They support Russia. They support Cuba. They support Iran. And when the United States started piling weapons into Kiev, they defended Russia's right to intervene.
This defensive war in Ukraine that Russia is actually waging against world colonial powers, not Ukraine as a single entity, but the U.S. and all colonial powers who have an interest in colonially dominating African people right here in this country and around the world and extracting resources from the majority of peoples on the planet. That system, this current system, is in severe crisis, and they cannot rule in the same old way.
Because of that, their homes were raided. Then months later, the federal government came out with an indictment, and it's charging them with being Russian agents. And it's trying to allege that the election campaign that they ran in St. Petersburg, Florida, was somehow interference in the U.S. electoral process.
4 activists associated with the People's Democratic Uhuru movement and the African People's Socialist Party have been indicted by the U.S. Department of Justice. The indictment from the U.S. Department of Justice accuses them of spreading Russian propaganda and cites simply some web conferences that they had, some Zoom meetings, some emails they sent out, as well as the fact that they have run routine election campaigns. Is this of concern to the Secretary General as an attack on human rights, freedom of assembly, etc.?
I frankly was not aware of the case before you mentioned it. Let me look into it, and I will get back to you.
What's going on in Africa is directly connected to what's going on here. What's going on in Ukraine is connected to what's going on in Harlem. You know what I'm saying? It's an international, global economy that's all connected.
Because they go to conferences in Russia, this constitutes Russian meddling in the elections. The whole thing is ridiculous. It's completely, utterly ridiculous. They've been running these campaigns for years, since before I was born. Back in the 1970s, they were running people for office. Their platform of reparations, I mean, Marianne Williamson, she's a major Democrat candidate. She also says she believes in reparations. I mean, it's not a unique message that they have in that sense, but they have been targeted because they're doing what you're supposed to do. I mean, you know, at all of our meetings, we have a picture of Fred Hampton up on the stage because Fred Hampton, he built a free breakfast program. He organized what he called a rainbow coalition, uniting low-income people, white, black, brown, Arab, Latino into one organization, trying to build up community empowerment, trying to do community service projects while teaching Marxism and socialism. We look at Fred Hampton as a great example of the American revolutionary tradition. And, the African People's Socialist Party and the Uhuru movement, they don't like that we wave the American flag. They don't like that we consider ourselves patriotic. They have their own kind of unique analysis. They talk about what they call the colonial mode of production. That's not traditional Marxist thinking. And we don't agree with them on a number of issues, but it doesn't matter. We support them.
We all have to stand up and oppose the ideology of division and support an ideology of unity based upon our material interests, to work together.
People who can't understand that, people who can't get past, this or that, we got to put aside our differences and say that if they come for them, they come for all of us. If they go after them, they got to deal with all of us. That needs to be the attitude among anti-imperialists.
There you go. All right. And that's the basics of the case. So that brings me to this great video that Timoshenko filmed. Well, it's a video of a speech, right? One of the people who's indicted is a white solidarity activist named Jesse Neville. And Jesse Neville is calling out the fact that they have been planning for months. For November 4th, they've been planning a national march on Washington to support the Uhuru movement. For months, they've been planning a national march to impose this horrendous, dangerous FBI indictment. For months, they've been raising, this case, and for months they've been planning this protest. And now the Answer Coalition has decided that at the same location, at the same time, on the same day, they're going to have a Palestine rally. And they didn't even call the Uhuru movement. They didn't talk to them about it. And there's Palestine rallies happening all the time. But this is the national march to support the Uhuru movement. And the Party of Socialism and Liberation cares so little about the Uhuru case that they have decided to basically ruin their national march. And this is a vicious attack. The Party of Socialism and Liberation, the Answer Coalition, you're on the list. They have been viciously attacked. Viciously attacked by the Answer Coalition. So this is Jesse Neville, filmed by a member of our community named Timoshenko. This is him speaking on, he's reading an open letter that they wrote to the Answer Coalition about how dare they viciously attack them this way. So here we go. Oh, boy. All right. Hold on, folks. Hold on. All right. We're going to have to play it a different way. All right. Here we go. Here we go.
Of the Black is Back Coalition. Len is going to pass out the clipboard. I'm going to read this open letter, which was written by the Black is Back Coalition. And I want to call on people here to sign on to this open letter to show your support for this important political struggle that the Black is Back Coalition is taking on. So for the last year, the Black is Back Coalition for Social Justice, Peace, and Reparations has been building for the Black People's March on the White House on November 4th. This year's march is co-sponsored by the Hands Off Uhuru Fight Back Coalition, formed earlier this year with over 40 organizations uniting to participate in building for the 15th annual Black People's March on the White House. This year's Black People's March has urgent political objectives, including the demand for the U.S. government to drop the charges against African People's Socialist Party Chairman Omali Yeshitela and 2 other members of the Uhuru movement, who are facing 15 years in prison on bogus federal charges of being Russian agents for opposing the U.S.-led Ukraine war, waging campaigns for reparations, and petitioning the United Nations to charge the United States government with the crime of genocide against African people. The indictments of the Uhuru 3 followed the July 29, 2022 FBI military-style raids on 7 homes and offices of the Uhuru movement, using armored vehicles, flashbang grenades, drones, assault weapons, and handcuffing Uhuru movement leaders. To broaden the entire struggle for free speech and connect it to the struggle against colonialism, the Hands Off Uhuru Fight Back Coalition consolidated more than 40 anti-imperialist organizations spanning the political and ideological spectrum to unite with the demands of the Black People's March, including an end to attacks on the Uhuru 3, Tampa 5, Stop Cop City, the release of political prisoners, including Leonard Peltier and Mumia Abu-Jamal, and for the liberation of Palestine. The forming of this anti-colonial free speech coalition represents a new and historical development in the anti-imperialist movement in the United States. For the first time, white left, anti-war, and anti-imperialist organizations have united to pursue common aims under the leadership of colonized peoples. It was therefore a shock to learn that the Answer Coalition had just days ago announced a contending demonstration on the same date, time, and location. However, it is a continuation of a tradition of white left opportunism to split the struggle of colonized peoples and maintain their hegemony over our struggles for liberation that recognize the essential force for the destruction of capitalism and the emergence of a new social system. This open letter recognizes that this tradition of opportunism has historically undermined struggles by oppressed peoples and workers globally, as exposed by the same colonial stand taken by white leftist attacks on Marcus Garvey in the 1920s, and the French left's solidarity with the French colonial domination of Algeria, other African countries, and Vietnam. The Black People's March, even before this most recent escalation of colonial terror against the Palestinians, had called for the liberation of the Palestinian people as one of its central demands. The Black is Back Coalition for Social Justice, Peace and Reparations makes this explicit statement in its national Black political agenda for self-determination adopted by the coalition in 2016. Quote, "Free Palestine, down with Israeli apartheid. We demand recognition of all rights of the Palestinian people, including the right to an independent sovereign Palestinian state and the right to return for all Palestinian refugees. The U.S. must immediately end all monetary aid, trade relationships, and military cooperation with the apartheid Zionist state of Israel until that uniquely barbaric affront to human civilization is dismantled and abolished." End quote. It was therefore duplicitous on the part of the Answer Coalition, under the pretense that they were doing this to help Palestinians, to attempt to drive a wedge and create an artificial contradiction between the Palestinian struggle and the African liberation movement. Despite all efforts that have been made to unite the entire anti-colonial struggle with the Black People's March, including invitations repeatedly sent to some of the leaders of Answer, we heard nothing from them. The only response we heard from Answer about the Black People's March was their announcement of this contending demonstration on November 4th. We remain committed to the historical unity between the struggles of Palestinians and Africans in the fight against colonialism and call for Palestinian participation in the Black People's March, which for the past 15 years has called for the liberation of the Palestinian people. We call on Brian Becker and Answer to use their resources towards building the November 4th Black People's March on the White House, led by the Black is Back Coalition, that includes the demand for an end to the slaughter of the Palestinian people and calls for the liberation of Palestine from the clutches of the Zionist colonial settler state. Signed, Black is Back Coalition for Social Justice, Peace and Reparations, Hands Off Uhuru, Fight Back Coalition, Uhuru Solidarity Movement signs it. All of you, we call on you to sign on to this important statement.
Yeah, what the Answer Coalition is doing to the Uhuru movement is utterly reprehensible, trying to ruin their national march. I mean, it's like they don't realize that they could jail any anti-imperialist if Uhuru is convicted. Like, it is reprehensible, utterly reprehensible what the Answer Coalition is doing. How they would target and disrespect the Uhuru movement at a time like this. I mean, Brian Becker is not a good dude. Let me just put it that way. This guy, here, I'll put his image on the screen. This guy is one of the worst human beings out there pretending to be a socialist. This fellow, this Brian Becker character, I mean, you want to talk about a flim-flam man, you want to talk about a con artist, you want to talk about a predator, that's what Brian Becker is. And the fact that he is targeting the Uhuru movement now, that he doesn't have just the basic decency as a socialist to not ruin their national march, to maybe call his Palestine rally on a different day. The fact that he doesn't have just the basic decency to do that. that Brian Becker of the Answer Coalition is such a narcissistic, donation hungry person that there's a group of black people that are on trial, could go to prison for the rest of, Chairman O'Malley is only 80 years old. He's 80 years old. He would be in prison for the rest of his life. And, Brian Becker, king of the protest cage, is just so determined to get those Palestine bucks, to get those Palestine donations to come in, that he doesn't care about a group of black revolutionaries who are facing 15 years in prison for allegedly supporting, being aligned with Russia. This is so dangerous. And this guy, Brian Becker, is such a narcissist, such an egotistical narcissist, such a power-hungry, money-hungry pig, that he sees a group of black revolutionary activists that have been indicted by the federal government, and it doesn't occur to him that maybe he shouldn't try to ruin their national march. Maybe, just maybe, since they're facing 15 years in prison, maybe don't ruin their national march. What a asshole. And the fact that he doesn't even care about the Uhuru movement, it doesn't even concern him, indicates, that somebody on the inside is protecting him. Because what the Answer Coalition does, all the rallies they have, all the overseas donations they get, they could be next. They could be calling them foreign agents next. But I think Brian knows they won't, because he's got a friend on the inside. And that's why he called for all Trump supporters to be jailed after January 6th. He called for a bigger crackdown on Trump supporters. And that's why he's a big supporter of the vaccine mandates. Right? I'm just telling you, this guy is a fake socialist. Because if he was genuine in what he was doing, anyone who's genuine should be screaming from the heavens about the Uhuru case. Anyone who is genuine would be screaming from the heavens about the Uhuru case. And Brian Becker is doing the opposite. He's trying to ruin the national march to support the Uhuru movement. It is reprehensible. Reprehensible what Brian Becker is doing. This man needs to be called out. I'll put his Twitter handle here. Harass him on Twitter. Not that Twitter isn't rigged, but harass him. Call him out for it. This man is a criminal. He is trying to put a group of black revolutionaries in jail. He's pretending to support a group of black revolutionaries. He's pretending to support them, but yet he's trying to ruin their national march. It's reprehensible what Brian Becker is doing. It's indefensible what Brian Becker is doing. Call him out for it. Call him out for it. Do not let Brian Becker get away with it. Call him out for it. Call him out for it. Harass Brian Becker. Harass. Call out Brian Becker. His Twitter handle is Brian Becker DC. Call him out. Right? Don't harass him. Don't harass him. Just call him out. Call him out. Challenge Brian Becker for what he is doing. Call him out. All right. We've got a guest. Gabby is going to get me in a better mood. I'm fired up against old Brian Becker. So,
hi.
Hey, Gabby.
How are you guys?
Hi, I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. I just wanted to give you guys hope and stuff and say just how CPIs, we're just a unique group. Going to those protests, the Palestinian whatever protest, if it was more of us, it was just me, but I was just observing, it's just temporary. These things are temporary, but we really need people to go out there. We just do. And we're so unique in the sense of we have different ideologies too. So it's there's nothing there like us. So I'm just saying, like, just we have to go out there,
Yeah.
like crazy, you know. And what I saw was very like, oh yeah, like stop the Zionists, stop this and that, but it was not, because I think we're just in crucial times, so it's like we don't have time to play any games. So I just think it's just we just have to be really, really like we just have to be on it. We're on the dot and stuff like that. Like, and these groups just they just like use these kids, and it's I just hate seeing that. It really gets me upset. I'm sorry. I just had to say that.
No. Well, I mean, I think what you're getting at is that this hashtag revolution stuff. People go out and they go to the rally because it's happening, right? There's a protest happening and they go to it. There you go. Right. But we need a real organization. We need a network of people who can rely on each other, who can trust each other, who can teach our ideology and our perspective. And we don't have that, right? We need something permanent, not just a hashtag revolution, right?
I'm sorry for myself. Yeah, it's just like I'm just really like I just don't like seeing like these young adults doing these, like fight the power and all this stuff. So it's like so like it's not real, and it's really upsetting because I just don't like how we mess the young adults to do messy things, and let's do this and let's go crazy and do that. Like, it's not gonna do anything. So that's why I'm like, I kind of want to just literally get out there, like, and start telling people, like, trying to guide them in the right direction. So it's like, oh my god. So I just had to like let it out. Like,
good. Well, I'm glad you did. I'm glad you came on. Well, look, my wife and I were talking the other day, and she went to the Palestine rally. It was here in Brooklyn, and and she said we've been going to rallies like this for the past 10 years, and they're all the same. And I said, yeah, and they don't make any difference. And she's like, yeah, they don't make any difference. And I said, but I said to my wife, I said, imagine that instead of Palestinian flags, they had all American flags. And all the signs said money for America, money for jobs and schools and healthcare, and not for Israel. I said, that would make a difference. And my wife was like, yep, that would make a huge difference. I said, but they'll never do that, will they? And she said, nope. And I said, because they hate America too, not just Israel. And she's like, yep. And that's the thing is it's like the leftist groups have all just got it, this like woke, like they're mad at the country. They don't actually want to win. Right. And they're not putting forward a strategy to actually win. And that is the problem. And CPI, we're breaking their rules,
right.
We're breaking
It's
their
really
rules.
upsetting. It's like, I don't know. I don't know. I just don't like seeing that. And it is like, it reminds me of like, because I have my siblings, they're older than me and stuff like that. So it's like, in my family, I'm seeing like the wacky, like, oh, why are you doing all this? Just live a regular life like all of us and be miserable for your whole life. I'm like, no, we gotta fight for something. And it's like, I don't know. I just feel like after your 30s, or like, it's like you kind of set this reality of becoming a conformist. I mean, like, this is reality, and it's like depressing, and it's like that is not a life I want to live. I don't know. And they're like, well, you gotta like pay bills and this and that. Like, I don't know. It's just very like unhappy. I'm just like, we all have this in us to do something and to fight for something. And I hate like sounding like that, because my people I know, they think I'm like those PSL, like that type of revolutionary. And I'm like, no, this is a real thing. And then they're like, oh, okay. But like, it's kind of hard to kind of break away from that.
Well, that's
Like,
something
because
it's really important, right? Is we all look the same. To people that aren't communists, they think we're all the
right,
same, right?
right.
They can't tell the difference between us.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why it's so important that we find unique ways to engage with our coworkers and our friends,
Right.
And but yeah, no, I will show, actually, just since we're on that, this was our contingent, the CPI contingent that we had at the August 6th Humanity for Peace rally. And it's just a short clip here, but it'll show you kind of how our imagery is different, right? I mean, we do it differently, right? Let me see where I've got the video here. Sorry, just want to figure out which one it is. Oh, here we go. Peace with China. Peace with Russia. Peace with China. Peace with Russia. Peace with China. Peace with Russia.
We're not strong enough. In the way. And he starts to opine on how it could be best used. He says, you know, if you ignite the bomb at a given out, and they cut him off, they say, it's okay, doctor. Go between 130,000 to 250,000 people dead because of these bombs, but we don't know. And they did use it. 78 years ago today, the United States of America dropped.
Yeah, it was just a very different aesthetic. You know what I mean? Designed to like appeal to like regular people. Peace with Russia, peace with China. We got the American flag there. You know, we got our T-shirts on. Like we have a different approach, right?
I had this one.
Oh, we need a government of action to fight for working families.
I kind of messed up the time. And then I put the Free Palestine and I put our website, but I'm trying and stuff, but like, you know, people are probably taking pictures. I'm just like, okay, like let me start putting that. And people were looking, and it's like, I don't know. Right now, I'm just still like, I get anxious to explain it, but I try. I just. Yeah,
well, you should take a picture of yourself in a crowd holding that sign up. That would be great. I had no idea you had made that sign. I love it. I love it. That's tremendous.
And I was like, you know, join CPI if you're anti-war, and blah blah blah. And it's like, I don't know. People weren't. I did get a couple people, and I did explain the Uhuru case, but I have to educate myself more on that one. But a lot of people don't know about the Uhuru case, and that's like important as well.
Absolutely, and we're speaking up about it when others aren't.
Yeah,
so
yeah, exactly. So we're the few, like literally, like not even the other groups that they didn't even mention anything about that. So it's like we're unique, and we're. I'm not trying to be mean, but like we just gotta.
Yeah.
We just gotta start just going out there and doing stuff like that they don't do. We're winning. Like we're gonna win. So that's what I'm saying. We are winning. So
wait until people see the video of that huge auditorium in Portland full of people to hear our speeches. I'm really excited.
Oh yeah, that's why I'm trying to like put the websites on my social medias and stuff like that. Like, and people are actually a bit like they're kind of like, oh, you're serious? Like they think I'm that. I'm that communist person. Like I don't know what else.
Yeah. Oh,
openly
your voice
about
went out there for a minute.
Oh, they like literally like just being like open-minded because they think communists were like a certain way or something. Like I don't know. They think that we're So then once they start to talk to me, you're like, wait, and then they're like, you're not trying to cancel me or you're not trying to do things like that. Like, that's weird. And I'm like, how is it weird? Like, we're human, you know, I don't agree with you, but like, we could still do something and try to, I don't know, just, And then, I was watching so many things like of like how, like, I don't know how would you call it, like capitalism affects everything. So there was this thing in Guadalajara. There was like an explosion, and it killed like in the 1992, and it killed like 200 people, and 15,000 people became homeless, and because they lost their homes, and it's like a big explosion. And it was Panmex, the gasoline. It was like a leak, and they basically sorry, somebody come in. Basically it was their fault. But you turn on the light. But on top of it is like basically the explosion happened, whatever, and then they wanted to blame this other smaller company that did that, but it wasn't even their fault. But Panmex, they covered it up, and it killed so many people basically. And it was like, you know, it's like reminded me like, oh wow, it's like, you know, imperialism or capitalism, and it's like we end up dying. So it's like, and they get away with everything. So it's just one of those things where it's a global thing. So it's like, you know, that's why we got to work with each other. It's globally. So
well, thank you so much for coming on. You really add something every time you come on, Gabby. You really do. You know that? I love it every time.
But like, I want more people to like come and talk here because I like hearing my comrades talk too. So that's why I'm trying to let it be open. So, do better than me, you guys. Please.
All right. Well, you were great.
Thank
Give
you.
my best to your son and your
Oh,
family.
yeah, I will.
You're awesome, Gabby.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Have a good night.
Yep. Bye-bye. Wow, that is great. That is great. Every time Gabby comes on, it is amazing. And I didn't even know she had made that sign. That's really great. She's describing, that was a report from the ground that you just heard, from people going to the rallies and engaging with people. Even though we have our disagreements, even though we're very clearly different types of communists, she's there. She engages with them. She does the hard work. And that is great. And shout out to everybody in Chicago. Shout out to everyone who's working to make Portland a success, right? I would urge you to just do everything you can to get to our Portland National Convention, right? And make it a smashing success. We need you there. We need you in Portland. We need you at our conference. The Center for Political Innovation needs you. Needs you. We need you there. So please help us build this conference, attend this conference, support this conference. We need you there. We need all the help we can get. We are going to build a revolutionary anti-imperialist movement that can actually win right here in the center of the empire. All right, folks. All right. So now I'm going to start. I've got, Felonious Punk says, bravo, Gabby. You're a hit, Gabby. You're a hit. Thanks, Gabby. Right? Thanks, Gabby. Why should I leave? Right? All right. Great. Excellent. Gabby is awesome. We love Gabby. She's a beloved member of our community, very dedicated. She's a mother. She works full time, but she's a socialist in every bone, and it comes into every aspect of her life. And we are just so proud to have her in our organization. And thanks for coming on, Gabby. You always bring something great. That was beautiful how you showed us the sign and everything. That was great. All righty. So the first super chat question. I've heard about Jews being persecuted in the former Soviet Union. Is there any truth in this, or is it just Western propaganda? This is an interesting one. This is a very interesting one. Okay? So first things first, this one, it shows you how that whatever you are, whatever position you take, they have a way to make you hate communism. Right? Because what do all the anti-Semites claim? The Soviet Union is controlled by the Jews. What does the Nazis claim? Communism is a Jewish conspiracy. Karl Marx was a Jew. Lenin was a Jew. Right? One time I'll never forget, I was in Union Square, and this man walked up to the literature table and he told me Stalin was a Jew. And I said, no, Stalin was not a Jew. And he said, what was his birth name? And I said, Zhugashvili. And he says, aha, Zhugashvili, the son of a Jew. That's not what Zhugashvili means. It means the son of Vili, right? Vili does not mean Jew. But, Zhugashvili, the son of a Jew. I mean, someone tried to tell a friend of mine that Mao was Jewish. I don't know how anyone could think Mao was Jewish, but apparently they said Mao was Jewish, right? That there is there's a layer of, no matter what it is, right? Oh, thank you, Wendy. Thank you for all your support. And, hey, they say, so if you hate Jews, the Soviet Union are all Jews. Communists are all Jews. If you don't hate Jews, the Soviet Union persecutes Jews. The Soviet Union's anti-Semitic. Well, which one is it? Which one is it? Right? Which one is it? Well, the truth is that the Soviet Union was the society that saved humanity from Hitler, that anti-Semitism was illegal in the Soviet Union, to the point that at one point they even implemented the death penalty for promoting anti-Semitism. If you published an anti-Semitic article or you could get the death penalty for it even. Like it's there you read about it, like, one of Lenin's first speeches, right? One of Lenin's first speeches was on the evils of anti-Semitism. In fact, I can put that on, right? This is Lenin gave a speech condemning anti-Semitism, right? He recorded, before he died, he recorded like a few speeches, and I'll see if I can find it on here, right? Lenin on anti-Semitism, right? Vladimir Lenin's speech on anti-Semitism. This is an actual recording of the founder of the Soviet Union explaining what his position on anti-Semitism was. I will put it on for you to watch. right? And you will see from Lenin's mouth what their position on anti-Semitism was, why they opposed anti-Semitism, right? And you will hear it. It is a brief 2-minute speech from the founder of the Bolshevik Party, Vladimir Lenin, on the question of anti-Semitism. Here we go. Here we go. This is, there are very few audio recordings of Vladimir Lenin, but one of them is a speech he gave condemning anti-Semitism, and we'll put it on. We will put it on. Just waiting for it to come up, and we'll just put that on. But then I'll address why people say these things, etc. It's frustrating, Here we go. This is Vladimir Lenin on anti-Semitism.
Антисемитизмом называется распространение вражды к евреям. Когда проклятая царская монархия доживала свое последнее время, она старалась натравить темных рабочих и крестьян на евреев. Царская полиция в союзе с помещиками и капиталистами устраивала еврейские погромы. Ненависть измученных нуждой рабочих и крестьян помещики и капиталисты старались направить на евреев. И в других странах приходится видеть нередко, что капиталисты разжигают вражду к евреям, чтобы засорить глаза рабочих, чтобы отвлечь их взоры от настоящего врага трудящихся, от капитала. Вражда к евреям держится прочно только там, где кабала помещиков и капиталистов создала беспросветную темноту рабочих и крестьян. Только совсем темные, совсем забитые люди могут верить лжи и клевете, распространяемой против евреев. Это остатки старого, крепостного времени, когда попы заставляли сжигать еретиков на кострах, когда существовало рабство крестьян, когда народ был задавлен и безгласен. Эта старая крепостническая темнота проходит. Народ становится зрячим. Не евреи враги трудящих, враги рабочих, капиталисты всех стран. Среди евреев есть рабочие, труженики, их большинство. Они наши братья по угнетению капиталом, наши товарищи по борьбе за социализм. Среди евреев есть кулаки, эксплуататоры, капиталисты, как и среди русских, как и среди всех наций. Капиталисты стараются посеять и разжечь вражду между рабочими разной веры, разной нации, разной расы. На розни рабочих держится сила и власть капитала. Богатые евреи, как и богатые русские, как и богачи всех стран, в союзе друг с другом давят, гнетут, грабят, разъединяют рабочих. Позор проклятому царизму, мучившему и преследовавшему евреев. Позор тем, кто сеет вражду к евреям, кто сеет ненависть к другим нациям. Да здравствует братское доверие и боевой союз рабочих всех наций в борьбе за свержение капитала.
That is pretty clear, pretty basic, pretty hard to argue. That was the Bolshevik position. Anti-Semitism was a plot by the capitalists to distract from the oppression of the capitalists. It was a plot to incite workers of different nationalities against each other. That was the Bolshevik position. That said, in Russia, there is a long history of anti-Semitism, right? In many Eastern European countries, in many European countries, there's a whole history of that. And that relates to the fact that under feudalism, only certain people could lend money, and there's a whole history, right? And that's not to say there wasn't discrimination against Jews in the Soviet Union. There was, but it was illegal. It was something the Soviet government worked very, very hard to eradicate. And some of the examples that are cited as persecution of Jews in the USSR, I don't buy it. One thing, circumcision. In the USSR, they said no circumcision, right? When your baby is born, you can't, cut the tip of its penis off, even if that's your religion, because that's child abuse. Well, I'm not personally against circumcision, but I can understand why a country would say, I don't care what your holy book says. I don't care what the religion says. you ain't cutting the tip off of your baby's penis. You're just not doing it, right? I can understand why someone would think that was child abuse. And I don't think that's done out of hatred for Jews, right? Because there are, in the United States, there's a lot of Christians. I think it's about half of men in America are circumcised. I think it's Muslims circumcise their children as well. And some people just feel that it's wrong, that you should not do that to a child, that it's about, traumatizing male children at an early age. That's a harmful practice. Well, they didn't allow it in the former Soviet Union, from what I understand. In addition to that, there were a lot of organizations that spoke in the name of Jewish people that were actually fronts for Israeli intelligence. And the Soviet Union supported Israel at the beginning, right? They supported Israel when it was created. But then they soon started finding Israeli spies all over the Soviet Union. Right? All over the Soviet Union, they started finding Israeli spies. And these organizations, a lot of times it would be Jewish organizations or whatever, were actually intelligence fronts for Israel. And so they started arresting Israeli spies. And when they would arrest these Israeli spies, they'd say, oh my God, they just arrested them because they're Jewish. No, they didn't. There's loads of Jewish people in the USSR. In fact, many people don't know that there was something called the Jewish Autonomous Region. You ever heard of this? The Jewish Autonomous Region, or the Jewish Autonomous Oblast. And they created a national territory for Jews in the Soviet Union because they had the position that every nationality should have its own territory. The Soviet Constitution, and it still exists, it's still there, officially designated in 1928, they created the Jewish Autonomous Oblast, and it still exists, right? Jews have their own territory in the USSR. So, the USSR, yes, there were a lot of people, because it was deeply embedded in the culture for thousands of years in Russia and in Europe, just like in a lot of parts of the world, there was just contempt for Jews. But the Soviet government and the Soviet leadership did everything they could to fight against that, to push back against it, to the point that Stalin even outlawed it. They even executed people for anti-Semitism at one point. They moved people around during the Second World War on the basis of their nationality, and doing so rescued millions of Jews from the Nazi gas chambers, because they would move people on the basis of their nationality, and they knew that if the Nazis took over an area, every Jew would get killed. And so they would move Jews away from the areas the Nazis would invade, because it was understood that they would get killed. So there was a lot done in the Soviet Union to hold back anti-Semitism, to restrict and stop and suppress anti-Semitism. But was there anti-Semitism in the culture? Absolutely. Right? But a lot of the things that get pointed to as proof that the Soviet Union was anti-Semitic are not proof of that at all. It's proof that Israel was their enemy. And in the 70s and 80s, it was very blatant that Israel was the enemy of the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union was arming the Palestinians to fight for their freedom. Israel was, was a stronghold of, U.S. imperialism, etc. And it was very clear that, the Soviets were against Israel, and Israeli spies got caught and got executed. And, there was certainly plenty of that went on, but it wasn't hatred for Jews. It wasn't hatred for Jews. So there you go. And even though it was a bad decision, it's worth pointing out there would never have been an Israel if the Soviet Union hadn't allowed it to happen and even voted for it at the United Nations. So, that idea that the Soviet Union was just this center of Jew hatred and bloodthirsty Jew hatred, I mean, that's just not, that's just not the truth. But, was there a history of that? Sure. I mean, just like there's been strife between Christians and Muslims in Russia. Russia is the largest non-Muslim nation in terms of, Russia is a country that is not a Muslim country, majority Christian, but it has more Muslims than any other non-Muslim country in the world. There are many, many millions of Muslims in Russia today. And do you think there's strife between Muslims and Christians in Russia? Absolutely there is. Right? There's different nationalities, different regions, and different republics, and These things happen when you have a big piece of territory with many, many different ethnicities and groups. There's going to be conflicts between peoples. And, in the history during the Tsarist period, there was certainly, you had the Black Hundreds Party that was formed that was very anti-Semitic, and a belief that the Jew was the enemy. That kind of thing existed, right? That kind of thing existed, and that wasn't good, but it was the Bolsheviks who strived against it. So yeah, that's where I stand on all of that. Like, I don't want to say there wasn't anti-Semitism in the USSR, because there clearly was. But the policy of the government was to fight against anti-Semitism as much as they possibly could. All right. Still catching up on the noon stream, but I had to express that I love the past, present, future lecture. Very impressive. Well, thank you. I'm glad that you liked it. I'm glad that it spoke to you on some level, because it's something we should all strive to do, right? We can't just live in the present. We have to remember the past, but we also have to remember the future, right? We have to be all three, right? That's an important thing to do. And that if you just live in the moment, your ability to make calculated decisions, your ability to think long-term is limited. And that was the point I was making, right? You need to have an observer that can think long-term and not just get stuck in how you feel in the moment, because if you do that, you're going to miss out. So I'm really glad you liked it, Felonious Punk. Really glad you liked it. Yeah, go back. The afternoon stream today, it was weird. I didn't do very much preparation. I just spoke from the heart, but it turned out pretty well. Sometimes I come on here with an outline, a plan, and I don't do very well. But other times that day, it was just something was in the atmosphere, and the sun was out, and I don't know what it was, but I was on point. I was on point this afternoon. So go and listen to it. All righty. Communism is antithetical to single-family homes. No, false, wrong. The rate of home ownership for families in Cuba, in China, is higher than the rate of home ownership in America. Americans don't own their own homes anymore. Right? Now we rent them from banks. We live in apartments. Right? The American middle class doesn't own its own home anymore. That's a thing of the past, the family-owned home. However, in the communist countries of the world, families owning their own homes is much more common. So you're just wrong there. Now, there are different ways of doing things. In China, the grandparents usually live in the same household as the parents and the grandkids, right? That's not how we do things here. Usually, you don't have 3 generations in one household, but it's still one family, right? I think that's the way in China traditionally. The grandparents live there, and the parents and the kids. But, we don't do that here. We don't have 3 generations in one household. And I'm not sure that all households do that in China anymore, but traditionally, I believe that's the way people do it in China. But so it's going to be different. It's going to be different. And there's some families that still do that, right? I think the Addams family, right? You watch the Addams family. Granny, she lived there, right? And Uncle Fester, he lived there too. Family structure and family traditions are going to be different, but single families owning their own home is much more common in socialist countries today. So it's capitalism that's getting rid of that, right? And let's be clear, we're not against personal property. We want personal property to expand. We're against private property. We're against property that is used for no other purpose than to advance the wealth of the capitalist. But we want people's personal property to expand. The things you use for your own life, your own enjoyment, your home, your car, these things, we're not against that. We want personal property to expand. And personal property will greatly expand by abolishing private property and abolishing private ownership of the means of production. And that is actually in the Communist Manifesto. That distinction is made between personal and private property. That's a very important point that is made. We don't want to take your toothbrush. We don't want to take your home or your car or your TV. We want to take the means of production, the centers of economic power, the banks and the factories, the major industries, the major means of production. And honestly, I'm at the point where I recognize that much of the means of production will remain private. The bulk of it, the commanding heights, the banks, the natural resources, major industries. These things will be nationalized. But, I think that we do need a private sector for the things that make life enjoyable. Consumer goods, hospitality, that should be private. 21st century socialism has a much bigger private sector. Now, they push worker cooperatives, right? Worker cooperatives are a big part of 21st century socialism, so that workers get a share of what they produce, but those cooperatives still function within an overall state centrally planned economy. So there you go. There you go. All right. Bravo, Gabby. Yes, you're a big hit, Gabby. Every time you come on, everyone loves you. You really should know that. And great work at the Palestine rallies. You're doing great work. You're great. You're great. Very good. All right. And then Wendy Melly says, just thanking you for all that you do. Well, thank you, Wendy. I don't know much about you, Wendy. I don't know who you are or anything, but you like what I do. And I'm glad. I'll keep doing it. I'll keep doing a lot more of it. I'll keep doing a lot more of it. I don't intend to stop. I couldn't stop if I wanted to. This is who I am. All right. I've got a job that pays my bills. I'm a reporter, but I'm a socialist. And I'm an organizer. And I need a community to belong to. I need a cause to work for. So I'm not going to stop. As much as people want me to stop, I'm not going to stop. I'm going to keep going. So yeah, sometimes it's harder than others. And I do need your support, guys, right? When it comes to Portland and the conference that we're doing, when it comes to joining CPI, doing the hard work to build the organization, stepping up to the plate, taking on responsibilities to help things get done. I need you. I need you guys. I absolutely need you guys. But I'm not going to quit. I'm not going to quit. We got a job to do. We got a job to do, and we're going to do it well. All right, folks. It looks like I don't have any more super chats. So I guess the show... Oh, Gabby's saying, shout out to my fam here. We are keeping it going. Shout out to your family. We're keeping it going. And I guess on that note, I'm going to put on the closing music. Yeah, hopefully I can get one more stream in before I head out of town tomorrow night. If not, then I'll see you all in a week. But hopefully, I'm thinking I will probably be able to get back on here at least once more before. But we'll just have to see. We will just have to see. Surge in the struggle against U.S. imperialism is now emerging throughout the world. Ever since World War II, U.S. imperialism and its followers have been continuously launching wars of aggression. But the people of various countries have been continuously waging revolutionary wars to defeat their aggression. And while the danger of a new world war still exists, and the people of all countries must get prepared, revolution is the main trend in the world today.